Sweetie, and welcome to my channel. My name is Danny and I am the owner and tea blender of Call Me Sweetie. Today we're going to be talking about a question that I get asked all the time at markets, and that is, do you have any decaffeinated tea? To which I almost always respond, do you mean decaffeinated or tea with no caffeine? Without fail, 99% of the time they actually mean tea with no caffeine. So why is there such confusion? Is there a difference between decaffeinated and no caffeine tea? Yes, let me tell you. But first, I'm going to take a sip of this. I am drinking Phoenix Song today, which is a roasted chai that I have in my shop. And I say roasted because it's a mix of black tea leaves, Ceylon, and hojicha, which is a roasted green tea, and then all the delicious spices and a little bit of orange to give it some pop. And it's a chai day. It's Wednesday. I'm recording this on Wednesday. Wednesday just screams chai to me. So I'm going to take a sip of this and let's dive in. So in case it wasn't clear, yes, decaffeinated tea and tea without caffeine are two very different things. Decaffeinated tea does contain some caffeine in it. So if a person is looking for a tea with absolutely no caffeine due to sensitivities or allergies or just general preference, they want a tea to drink at night that won't keep them up, go herbal, because decaffeinated tea does have caffeine in it. But it's not as much as a regular cup of black tea. The caffeination levels in decaffeinated tea tend to vary based on the methods used and the companies that are using them. I've seen and heard anywhere that from like decaffeinated tea is about the same amount of caffeine as a green tea. It's the same as a white tea. It barely touches the scale. It's hard to tell, honestly, unless you have some sort of tool to measure how much caffeine is in it. You're not going to really know. You're just at the mercy and whims of the companies that are telling you this information, which, depending on the company, they might not have access to that information. So decaffeinated tea is kind of this weird, sticky realm of who knows how much caffeine is in it. So again, if you're looking for no caffeine, go herbal. Though I do have some thoughts on that because there are some herbs or teas that aren't considered tea because they're not from the Camellia sinensis plant that do have caffeine in it. But we'll get to that in a bit. First, how does one decaffeinate tea? How do you take caffeine out of something that naturally has it? There are actually 4 ways that you can decaffeinate tea. The first is through water processing. Now, this is typically used to decaffeinate coffee rather than tea, but it is still sometimes used to decaffeinate tea. That said, it tends to leave a more watered down taste because it literally is. It's watered down tea. You take all the tea leaves, you soak it in hot water for however long they want to soak it. It depends a bit on the temperature of the water, how much tea they're decaffeinating, and a whole lot of other stuff. But basically, you steep the tea. You steep it in hot water, and then they take that water and they pass it through a carbon filter to take out all the caffeine, which will bind to the carbon. And then they take the water, they put the leaves back in it to reabsorb the flavors and oils that went out when they steeped it originally. And there you go. You have decaffeinated tea via water processing. It's basically like steeping it to drink it, but you take all the caffeine out. But yeah, as you can see, that kind of makes sense as to why it tastes watered down. Because it literally is, and not all the flavor can be reabsorbed back into the tea leaves. The second way you can decaffeinate tea is through methylene chloride. Now, this is considered not the best or healthiest method to decaffeinate tea. In fact, there are several countries that have made it illegal to import tea decaffeinated in this way into the country because it is seen as unhealthy in their opinions. So for methylene chloride decaffeination, they essentially soak the leaves, the tea leaves, into the methylene chloride, or they mix the methylene chloride with water and soak the tea leaves in that. The methylene chloride molecules bind to the caffeine molecules and it extracts it from the tea leaves. And that's methylene chloride decaffeinated tea. That's basically all it is. The third way that you can decaffeinate tea is through ethyl acetate, which is still a chemical process, but it's considered to be a more natural process because ethyl acetate is a naturally found chemical in Camellia sinensis. But it's the same thing as methylene chloride and water processing. You soak the tea leaves, the caffeine molecules bind to the ethyl acetate, and it decaffeinates it. Are you seeing a trend here? Because it's pretty obvious what it is. The fourth and last way to decaffeinate tea is carbon dioxide. This is considered the more natural process, and it's considered the best because it retains the most flavor and health benefits in the tea leaves. Essentially, you pressure cook tea leaves with carbon dioxide, and once the carbon dioxide hits a high enough pressure and temperature, it becomes a solvent, which then attracts the caffeine molecules to bind to the carbon dioxide. We've been here before. We know what's going on. But the difference here is that carbon dioxide can only attract the caffeine molecules. Flavor molecules tend to be bigger, and so it can't be taken out of the tea with the carbon dioxide. So that's why you get more flavor. That's why you get more of the health benefits. All those tannins and antioxidants are preserved in the tea leaves. And that's how it's done. Now again, you'll be hard pressed to find firm, clear information from many tea companies as far as what their decaffeination process is like. For the most part, unless they have direct farm connections, they own their own plantation or they know the family, whatever. It doesn't have to be a big company. Some small companies do know this information as well. But most of them probably won't know what to tell you. You can ask. You're probably asking a customer service person, though, who works the counter, so they probably don't know unless they're very highly trained. So it's kind of hit or miss which method is being used. You might be able to taste it. Again, water processed decaffeinated tea does taste watered down. It'll be pretty obvious if that's the method being used. But with the other three methods, it's hard to tell. So you may or may not be consuming something that you feel comfortable with. Now, if you're going for tea without caffeine in it, you're going to want to go herbal. We're talking mints, we're talking leaves from blackberries and raspberries, we're talking spices like ginger and cinnamon and that sort of thing, but no Camellia sinensis. There are leaves that are used as tea bases that are not Camellia sinensis, and we consider them to be tea, like we do with herbal tea, even though those are technically infusions and tisanes. But we have red rooibos, which can also be green rooibos. We have yerba mate. We have honeybush. We have cacao shells, which can be used as a tea base. We have butterfly pea flower. And all of these are not Camellia sinensis. But cacao shells and yerba mate have caffeine. So it's a little weird when you get into the herbal realm because all of these bases are typically categorized under herbal tea, but not all of them are truly herbal. Well, none of them are, except for butterfly pea flower, I guess, because flowers are an herb. But some of them have caffeine, some of them don't. Now you know. There is a difference between decaffeinated tea and herbal or no caffeine tea. Decaffeinated tea is made with Camellia sinensis leaves, which have had the caffeine extracted out of them. No caffeine tea is typically made out of herbs, flowers, fruits, nuts, red rooibos, green rooibos, honeybush, butterfly pea flower, that sort of thing, which has no caffeine at all. And then you have the messy middle, like yerba mate and cacao, which can mess all that up in the middle, which is fun. Variety is the spice of life, right? Just like tea is, especially when it's chai. I hope that helped you understand a little bit better what caffeination levels look like, what the decaffeination process is, and maybe next time you go tea shopping, you'll have a better understanding of what it is you're looking for. Until next time, sweeties, may your cup always be full. Cheers. pain. How? No, I'm gonna hiccup. Yeah. Is this gonna be a thing now? Will I hiccup every time I make a YouTube video? It wouldn't surprise me. And yes, my hiccups sound like I'm literally saying hiccup. I'm aware. I'm aware. Drink some tea to get rid of these hiccups. There's nothing like re-falling in love with a blend. I don't give Phoenix Song enough credit. It was one of my original ones. Like, it was in the first 10 blends that I made. It was for my Oregon Country Fair booth, Phoenix Rising. Oh, it's so good. So good. Sometimes you just need a little to get you going in the day, you know?